We can now bring in Mark Temnycky, non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. In your opinion, how authentic are these documents?
Thank you for having me. That is something that the Justice Department and Department of Defense in the United States are investigating to see how authentic the documentation is. It appears that some of the information is regularly known in the public domain, so that there are some consistencies, but at this point we're letting those individuals discuss further before we can make assumptions on what is happening.
And who do you think could be behind this leak?
There are numerous possibilities. I don't want to speculate. That's what the investigations are going for. It's certainly possible that someone with Russian connections released the leaks, or someone
Russia denied it. Russia said they're blamed for everything, essentially.
Yes, but they also denied that they invaded Ukraine and Georgia and several other countries around the world and meddled. So at this point, we don't really know what is happening, what the motivations of this individual was, or perhaps multiple individuals releasing the information. So I think for now, we'll let the investigations play out and see what happens when there's more information.
Could the information that's been leaked have a real impact on the battlefield over in Ukraine? Because we have had reports that Ukraine has been changing some of its plans in the light of these leaks.
It's certainly possible. One of the pieces of information within the leaks is how much information the United States was getting from the different deputies and bodies within the Russian military. So now that the Russian army is aware of these connections that the United States has, it could alter how the army behaves, future battle plans, etc. In Ukraine's case as well, there was a section saying how Ukraine is running out of missiles, and that will also impact how the Ukrainians want to plan their counteroffensive whenever that may occur.
We have had South Korea dismiss a vast chunk of these reports, but South Korea has, of course, not directly supplied weapons to Ukraine, and reportedly there were some concerns in South Korea that shells it would sell to the United States would make it onto the battlefield in Ukraine.
It's certainly possible. Again, we don't know what entirely is accurate, what is not accurate in these reports. Of course, in South Korea's case, they also have to be mindful how they participate. We know that the Russians are purchasing missiles and other types of military equipment from North Korea, so that puts South Korea in a difficult position too.
We also have a Washington Post report come out and essentially claim that Egypt secretly produced 40,000 rockets for Russia. Then we had U.S. authorities come out and say actually they didn't have any information on that. No word from Egypt yet on that. But clearly we know that the war in Ukraine, yes, the West has been supplying weapons for the most part to Ukraine, but not all of the world has followed suit. And Russia has maintained good relations with large pockets of the world.
Yes, but it's also important to remember that while many other countries have not provided necessarily defense aid, they have provided a lot of humanitarian medical aid to Ukraine during the war.
Okay, Mark Temnycky, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.